Today's episode is brought to you in full by Heartlift International, a 501c3 dedicated to making home and family the safest, most secure place to be. Last year, I finally brought to life Heartlift International. Hi, I'm Janelle. So glad you're with me here today, and I just wanted to take this moment because today, as I'm taping this, is Giving Tuesday. A day set aside to reflect on the beautiful gift of giving, of generosity, of radical generosity. And so today I just want to take a moment to invite you to donate, to support Heartlift International and its 5 different arms: publishing and podcasting, education, trauma-informed coaching and therapy, integration of faith and mental health initiative for churches, and hopefully, in the future, Professional Heartlifter Certification Program. The words of author Mary Farrar serve as the prophetic footing of Heartlift International. She writes, "Amazing what a crisis will reveal about the hidden character of a nation or an individual. Values surface quickly in the middle of a crisis, don't they? Whether we realize it or not, the critical choices we make in times of crisis can become matters of life and death. I submit to you there is nothing in this world more important than our homes, our marriages, and our children. There is not one ministry or job or accomplishment or calling that is more important. The family is not just an arm or a finger, it is the very heart. And everyone knows if you have a bad heart, you are in serious trouble." So Heartlifters, that's what we're doing with Heartlift International. We are getting to the heart of the matter. We are trying to make home, family safe, secure, where every child receives secure attachment and they know that they are seen, loved, they're safe, they belong. Oh man, how the world would change if that were true. So any donation at all will help us to extend these arms of Heartlift International and do the work that we believe God has called us to do. You can learn more over on my website, JanelleReardon.com/heartlift-international. Well, welcome to today's Heartlift with Janelle. So happy that you're here for our second episode in the Glimmers of Grace holiday season. So excited about this topic and the possibilities of finding glimmers all over the place. I have already found so many, when you set an intention, like I talked about last episode, I set an intention to find joy all along the path of my day. And when you do that, I'm telling you, God hears you and he will just send beautiful moments your way. Let's start with a beautiful reflection in Heather Alfonso's book, Glimmers. She writes, "The canvas of our lives is painted with a myriad of moments, some vibrant and bold, others delicate and subtle. Begin by delving into your own history, into the memories that, upon reflection, elicit feelings of joy, peace, or gratitude. These moments need not be grand." And I'll just add here, they rarely are. They rarely are grand. They could be as simple as a shared laugh with a friend, a solitary walk in nature, or the warmth of a morning cup of coffee. Take a moment to reminisce. Close your eyes. Go ahead, unless you're driving. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. And let your mind wander through the landscape of your past. Now, if you have a beautiful Young Living therapeutic grade essential oil, pick that up right now. Maybe it's the MRB, the Memory Release Blend, the mix of lavender, stress away, and frankincense. Maybe you have Envision, which I use with my online course, The Guide to Stronger Every Day. Just pick that up. Breathe that in, close your eyes, and let your mind wander through the landscape of your past. Recall instances when you felt a sense of fulfillment, contentment, or sheer happiness. These are your personal glimmers, the building blocks of a more intentional and joy-infused existence. Recall a time when you found solace in nature. Perhaps it was a quiet moment by the ocean, a hike in the mountains, or simply basking in the warmth of the sun in a serene park. Reflect on moments of connection with family and friends. This could be a heart-to-heart conversation, a shared celebration, or the simple pleasure of spending quality time with loved ones. Consider instances when you accomplished a personal goal or overcame a challenge. The sense of achievement, no matter how small, often brings a profound sense of joy. Recall times when you engaged in acts of kindness or experienced the kindness of others. These moments often evoke a deep sense of gratitude and interconnectedness. As you reflect on these moments, patterns and themes may emerge, subtle threads that connect your positive experiences. These patterns are the signature of your personal glimmers, offering insights into the elements that consistently bring joy and peace into your life. Man, I just love that. Thank you, Heather, for that idea, the signature of your personal glimmers. Oh, I just love that. I love that so much. It's one of those thoughts. I'm like, man, I wish I'd had that thought. So maybe now go back, listen to that section of reflection again, maybe again and again. Maybe do it today and then do it tomorrow. Maybe do it right before you go to bed so that you have in your subconscious, some subliminal work going on while you sleep. And notice. Yeah, take the time to notice. Are there themes here? Are there patterns here? Is that my signature personal glimmer? Well, immediately, I can tell you right away, one immediate theme that came for me is travel. I love to travel. I love new haunts and jaunts. I've often thought, I just think maybe I should have a podcast called Janelle's Haunts and Jaunts, because I love going to a new city, a new country, a new place, acclimating to the neighborhood, to the rhythms of the culture, to the rhythms of the different cities. I mean, my twin daughter lives in St. Louis, very urbanized, very cool. My son lives in McPherson, Kansas, very Midwest, very slow, very quiet. Each has their own beautiful rhythm. I'm getting ready to go to Belgium. I've never been there before. One of the things I'm anticipating is the Christmas market. Ooh, even though I will have a little toddler and a baby and a daughter to take care of, I just hope to sneak away and have a few moments just meandering, wandering in the city center of Antwerp and just seeing and hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching this beautiful community. Today, I want to talk about things that might block your glimmers. Things that may have interrupted you having a signature personal glimmer in your life. We know the opposite of a glimmer is a trigger. And a trigger is that mental stimulus that puts us into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn stage. And we don't want to live in that state. We don't want to live in that hyper-vigilant state. We don't want our nervous system to always be in a state of overwhelm. So I've done a lot of teaching, a lot of discussing and talking to authors and great thinkers about triggers, but I just wanted to spend this time as well getting to know glimmers and rebuilding some joy possibilities in our life and reclaiming a new narrative that is built around beauty and excitement and peace and joy, and focus on that as we move through this holiday season. I write a lot about triggers in Stronger Every Day Tool 7, send new positive messages to your brain. And you can check the show notes of today's episode for previous episodes, and I'll put them in there for you for a review. Let's review last week when we introduced polyvagal theory. Polyvagal theory can be a beautiful way to understand trauma, remembering that trauma is any emotion that's just way too big for our body to handle. So we disembody, and we disembody by bringing defense mechanisms into our life, coping strategies into our life. And often we develop what people call stinking thinking, right? Cognitive distortions. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But polyvagal theory was introduced to us in 1994 by Stephen Porges. It's based on evolutionary neuropsychological understanding of the vagus nerve's role in emotion regulation, social connection, and fear response. So this vagus nerve is so critical when it comes to living in that state of eudaimonia, living in equanimity, living in homeostasis. We talked about that last episode. But since then, the theory has brought a new understanding of trauma and recovery, providing for the first time a physiological explanation for trauma survivors' experiences. Now, we were introduced last week to Deb Dana, a clinical social worker and therapist, and she recognized the need for a practical application of polyvagal theory, and she adapted it for clinical and therapeutic purposes. She also coined our term glimmers, and I love that so much, that she saw such a great need for, as we just said, not only taking the tension out of triggers, but also adding and looking and hunting for glimmers all along the path of our life. That would actually be a very healing tool for us to implement in our lives so that we could be wholehearted. Dana also explained the polyvagal theory a bit more and how it organizes our nervous system into 3 key principles: hierarchy, neuroception, and co-regulation. You know, Heartlifters, I want you to be skilled. I want you to know your stuff so that you can really understand how your brain and your mind and your body works. Hierarchy refers to 3 nervous system states, okay? Ventral vagal, sympathetic, and dorsal vagal, and their activation in a particular order. So this is what we're going to focus on today. I'm not going to go deep. We're just going to get a very elementary understanding of this hierarchy. So she states that the ventral vagal helps us feel safe, show up, communicate, and connect with others. Top of the hierarchy. Okay, in this state, this is where we will feel safe, we will feel social. This is where the glimmers happen. As I said before, just a smile. Glimmers are typically not grandiose events. A smile, an email with a friend, feeling the sun on your face, coffee with a friend, songs on the radio. Oh my goodness. I was walking through a store yesterday and the Christmas music was just perfect rocket style music. And I just started to dance. Oh my goodness. I looked around. I thought, I don't even care. I just did a few little tiny moves just for myself. Maybe watching a favorite TV show with your partner. Hey, how about those Hallmarks? Yes, I raised my hand. I have an addiction to Hallmark Christmas movies. Dinner with friends, driving by the beach, early morning quiet time, playtime with the kids, your dog, your cat, all of these beautiful little moments of joy, micro moments of happiness that are peppered along the path of our day if we are aware and we are tuned and we are setting our intention. So the ventral vagal, the top of the hierarchy, is where we feel safe, where we feel social. She calls ventral vagal home, the place of safety, where we want to be most of the time. Well, that's the whole initiative of Heartlift International, isn't it? And it's certainly the initiative of my own life with my family. Sympathetic is that energy of flight or fight that helps us mobilize to survive in a dangerous environment. We have to have this activate in our life. It's very important. We were given a survival mechanism for a reason. So some of the triggers that might cause us to move into this sympathetic state are raised voices, right? Deadlines, Facebook post, social media post, arguing with your partner, bills I can't pay, having to co-parent with my ex, the morning commute, not being listened to, my to-do list, noisy coworkers, long lines. That will make us feel mobilized, and we will go into fight-flight. Thirdly, the third part of the hierarchy is the dorsal vagal. And this is where we will shut down, collapse, or go numb to protect ourselves. So this would be the fawn part of our survival mechanism. Why do we need to know this? Because our nervous system needs to be our best friend. Yeah. This is my conclusion. This is my PhD study. This is how I will pound the table. I know, I say that a lot. But getting to know your nervous system and how it informs your brain and your mind and your heart and every action in your life is critical. So that's what we're doing. Neuroception is another word I want us to be well aware of. Dana describes the principle of neuroception as our nervous system automatically scanning the environment for cues of danger below our awareness. I'm going to repeat that. Dana describes the principle of neuroception as our nervous system automatically, circle that, scanning the environment for cues of danger below our awareness. Circle that. That's very important. She states that it listens from the inside of our body. This is our nervous system. It's listening from inside of your body and my body. It's listening outside in our environment. And it's listening between the interaction of two people. Your nervous system is always listening. It's always looking for ways to keep you safe and sound and secure. Neuroception determines whether we are in states of that hierarchy. The ventral vagal, which is home base, where we feel safe, where we are in that equanimity that we are striving for. The second tier is the sympathetic, where we feel mobilized into fight or flight. And then the dorsal vagal, which is the third, putting us into a state of feeling immobilized, and it's where we collapse or go numb. Some of the triggers in this dorsal vagal tier are constant demands that you can't meet. Being ignored. Oh, I hate to be ignored. Feeling powerless to make a difference. Well, watching the news. Chronic pain. Oof. Illness. Losing a friend. Yes. Being left out of conversations, right? Being invisible. Not being considered. What about not being cared for? Like you've always been the caregiver. You've always been the one that everybody depended on to be the strength in the room. So just keep all of this in mind as we start to talk about some of these glimmer blocks. The glimmer blocks we're going to be talking about the next couple weeks, our next couple of episodes, are cognitive distortions. As I said, stinking thinking. Cognitive distortions are irrational thoughts that can influence your emotions. Everyone experiences cognitive distortions to some degree, but in their more extreme forms, they can be harmful. They will block us. They will keep us immobilized. They will keep us numb. They will keep us from experiencing the power of glimmers of grace all along our pathway. Today, I'm just going to talk about 4. We're in total going to talk about 12, but today 4. Magnification and minimization. Okay, so just listen in, just giving, like I said, an elementary understanding. Exaggerating or minimizing the importance of events. One might believe their own achievements are unimportant or that their mistakes are excessively important. So magnification is going to be adding more drama to a situation than's necessary. I am sure we have all done this, but we also know those personalities in our life that just make everything into a hyperbole. Everything is bigger than it actually is. Minimization, on the other hand, is just making less of yourself or the situation. A very, very common one in the work that I do is this statement. There are so many people that have it far worse than I do. Or when someone begins treatment or begins moving through their heart-lifting healing journey, they start to share their trauma stories and they minimize. I shouldn't complain. I did at least have a house to live in. Something my mother did all the time, which was minimizing the effects of alcoholism in our family system. Second, catastrophizing. Seeing only the worst possible outcomes of a situation. Okay, if you're aware of the Enneagram, we talk about that. You can go back and visit that episode as well, where we introduced it. Enneagram 6s tend to be more prone to catastrophizing or to seeing the worst case scenario. Now, that can be a true valuable gift. And I have always said, when I build a team, I want a 6 right next to me because I need their wisdom. I need them to see what can go wrong because I'm just, Susie visionary, and I need someone to say, you might want to think about this, you might want to think about that. But when we are in excess or when it's moving over into that vice where it has a vice grip on our life, then it's not a virtue anymore. It's going to harm us. A cousin to catastrophizing is comparison. So always chronically comparing yourself to someone else. And in this day and age of social media, we know how dangerous and powerful that can be in our life. So I want you just, as I'm reading these and just gently giving the definitions of what they mean, I want to see if you identify with them. This is what today's about, so that you can go, oh man, I do that. I actually do that. And I need to be really aware that I do it and put some practices in place that will help me to not do this. Overgeneralization. Whew. Making broad interpretations from a single or few events, like, I felt awkward during my job interview. I am always so awkward. Okay, the word to circle there is always. That's a universal statement, and I taught my children early on in their years. We don't throw down universal statements in this family. Never, always. Oh my goodness, it's just really dangerous. You always do this. You never do this. We want to be careful of that. So you want to see, am I overgeneralizing? Another case like that would be my husband bounced a check. Now we're going to go into financial ruin. And finally, today we're going to talk about magical thinking. Magical thinking is the belief that your thoughts, feelings, or actions will affect someone's behavior or the outcome of a situation. Many of us engage in magical thinking from time to time, and superstitions would fall into this category, such as avoiding the 13th floor of a building or needing your lucky pencil to take a test, or don't walk under that ladder because you'll have bad luck, or oh my goodness, a black cat crossed my path. This is magical thinking. Also be fun, like tossing a coin into a fountain. I remember at the Trevi Fountain in Rome, oh my goodness, the beautiful magical thinking is you throw 3 coins over your shoulder and your wishes will come true. Making a wish before blowing out your birthday candles. These are fun things. Crossing your fingers. Many of us do this without even thinking about it. They can be fun, but they can also become disruptive to our healthy thinking processes. Mental health conditions like generalized anxiety disorder, GAD they call it, or OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, are often associated with disruptive types of magical thinking. Just for more of an understanding, magical thinking often occurs in young children under the age of 5. It's really what I loved so much when I was a preschool creative movement teacher. I just love the way a child's imagination runs free. Young children don't yet understand that their mind is separate from the world around them. For instance, a young child believes that their wishing for something causes it to happen, but it can be common in adolescents and adults as well. I thought this thought was noteworthy. I wanted to give it to you. There are two types of magical thinking that are important in anxiety disorders: thought-action fusion and routines, also called rituals. So this thought-action fusion is a type of magical thinking that involves believing that thoughts are the equivalent of actions and that thoughts can make actions come true. For example, don't speak negative things about someone or that person will get sick, which implies that a person's thoughts alone influence the health of another person. Some who experience thought-action fusion often feel shame, believing that having a negative thought does as much damage as if the thought were happening in real life. If a thought pops into your head about hurting your partner, you might feel guilty because you believe you are hurting them by having the thought, even when you'd never act upon it. Routines, or the rituals we talked about, involve performing certain actions physically or mentally to magically make something happen or stop something from happening. A common example, I just did it today, is someone knocking on wood every time they think of something they don't want to happen. So these are just 4 ways that our cognition, our capacity to think healthily and clearly, can get distorted or clouded. So what do we do about these so that we can bring in healthy thinking, right? And healthy behavior patterns so that we can experience all the glimmers of this season? First and foremost, you are already doing this work. You are already here. You're listening. You attend to this podcast. So I know that you're committed to a healthy sense of self, healthy behavior patterns, and healthy communication skills, or you would not be here. You are here to bridge the gap between your faith and your mental health so that you can live a wholehearted life and be a really healthy individual. I love that. So you're already doing it. You're already increasing your awareness, and awareness is everything. You're turning up the volume on your attunement so that you're more attuned to your life. You are observing your life. You are naming, this is going on in my life. Maybe today you heard, I think maybe I minimize things in my life. Okay, name that, own that, and then set into practice something like this. So one of the first things I love to do is engage the senses, the 5 senses. There's a versatile, beautiful way to just evoke a mindful state wherever you are. You may have heard of this exercise before. It is very basic, but I'm telling you, we tend to not do them. I don't know whether they're just so simple or they feel silly, but the contemplative practices, if we would implement them, stillness, silence, and solitude, we would find ourselves growing exponentially. So the goal of this little 5 senses exercise is to just practice being aware in the present moment throughout the day, whenever a formal meditation or mindfulness practice or a reading of the word or listening to the word might not be practical. I have done this in the grocery store, in the doctor's office, and a million other places. So here's a guide for you to just be attuned to your 5 senses. Wherever you are, notice the 5 things that you can see. Cast your eyes around and bring your attention to 5 things you might not normally notice. Choose something you wouldn't ordinarily pay attention to, like a shadow or a small crack in the concrete. I do this all the time. All the time. And now it's such a natural place for my mind and my brain and my eye to go. Notice 4 things that you can feel. Bring your awareness to 4 things you're currently feeling. Right now, I just took into my hand my lovely, comfy sweater. Feel the texture of your pants, the feeling of the breeze on your skin, or the smooth surface of a table you are resting your hands on. Notice 3 things that you can hear. Try to tune in to the sounds of your surroundings. What can you hear in the background? There might be a bird singing. That's one of my favorites. What about that low hum of the dishwasher or the refrigerator? Or maybe the faint sounds of someone walking and crunching the leaves in your yard. That just happened. Then notice 2 things that you can smell. Tune your senses into smells you might usually gloss over. This is the whole key here. Remember that glimmers are tiny, micro moments of joy. They are not grandiose, extravagant expressions. They can be, but typically they're micro moments. They might be pleasant, they might be unpleasant. Perhaps the breeze is carrying the scent of pine trees if you're outside, or the smell of a cafe from the sidewalk. I love that one so much. And then finally, notice one thing that you can taste. And this is where we can implement mindful eating, mindful sipping of a lovely cup of coffee, of a lovely cup of tea, a sip of a lovely Merlot. Notice one thing that you can taste. Taste it. Take the time to taste it. Focus on one thing you can taste right now in this moment. You can taste, like I said, a sip of coffee, savor some chocolate, eat something, notice the current taste in your mouth, or even open it to search the air for a taste. So these are just beautiful, mindful exercises that I invite you to begin today so that you can notice all the glimmers of grace that are going to present themselves to you. I'll close with Heather Alfonso's words again from her book, Glimmers, Cultivating Joy in Everyday Moments. Glimmer hunting as a mindset and a lifestyle. Glimmer hunting, we learned, is more than a practice. It's a mindset. I love this. A glimmer mindset. Wow. It involves training our minds to be present, to seek joy even in the smallest corners, and to share these moments with others. Yes, a glimmer, you can't hold a glimmer to yourself. It's a commitment to a life where gratitude is a constant companion and joy is a conscious choice. Okay, so here's one of my glimmers. This past week, I wake up and I'm like, okay, glimmers, I'm on the hunt for you. So I had to run some errands. So my final errand, I'm at a store because I needed some eyeshadow. And I get to the cashier and she says, oh, ma'am, you have some money, like the little cash bonuses you get when you spend so much money somewhere. And she says, do you want to take it off today? And I said, oh, yes, take it off. Please take it off. And I realized how really funny that must have sounded because I got super loud like I can get. And I looked to the right and there's this young couple next to me and he's kind of blushing and laughing. And I'm like, well, there you go. I know that probably came out a little different, but we all had a really good laugh. And I just left the store feeling so much joy. I really did. I thought that was hysterical. And that was a glimmer. I want to hear about your glimmers, and I want to hear if you discovered your personal signature glimmer, like mine: travel, family, grandchildren, children, cooking, setting a table. What is your signature personal glimmer? Meet me over on Instagram at Janelle Reardon or on our new Substack home, Heartlift Central, where we can talk freely and fully and keep this conversation going.